So, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great.
Today
Excited
we,
about another um, conversation with you.
yes, today we're talking about the Coven.
Yes, yes, indeed. So, I'll go ahead and start with a reading from the teaching manual, and then we can talk about it a little bit as live humans. And
Sounds good.
just to reiterate, you have two live humans here,
It's true.
actual humans. Then there also may be live cats that
Yes.
come and go.
Yeah.
So,
I have a
yes.
sleeping dog. Well, she's not really sleeping. She's staring out the window. But she's here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So the coven, the coven. Coven directly translated means assembly and is the root word for covenant, meaning sealed agreement. The wiki see the coven as the assembly of those initiated. And I'm going to note that this is spelled wiki here, Wiccae,
Yes.
as a kind of a plural. The coven numbers 13 or 26 or multiples thereof in honor of the 13 full moons in a year. The ideal balance is 6 men, 6 women, and the high priestess, or multiples of these numbers. It is not required to balance the sexes, and in fact, there are all male covens and those that are all female within other traditions. In Celtic Wicca, equality of the sexes helps us understand that this equality balances and augments itself. Sexual preference is not an issue. The coven, due to the axioms of love and trust, is conducive to a closely knit family feeling, with the high priestess in a mother role, the high priest, the father, the summoner, the big brother, other priests and priestesses as aunts and uncles, and the coveners as brothers and sisters. It is the custom to be totally supportive in all ways possible to your Wiccan family and to your cousins in other covens. The covenstead is the usual meeting place for the coven and generally is the home of the high priestess. The covendom is the area around the covenstead in which the coveners live.
That's great. Yeah, you hear the word Wicca, and we used to always have a student or two that would be like, well, Wicca is an invented word in the 70s by Scott Cunningham or some other author or um, Gardner. um, but that was not my experience when doing a little bit of research, and that word Wicca is 800 between 700 or 800 AD. So the word's like 1200, 1300 years old. Um, and so the meaning and the connotation will be a little bit different. But I think when we come across it, we could say that the Wicca as the tradition as we understand it of uh, traditional Celtic witchcraft,
Mhm.
which has a roots that are um, hundreds, if not thousands, of years old.
Indeed. And even modern books talk about the roots being accepted as old with a couple different possible etymologies going back.
Right. And how people use the word has changed over time, and
Yeah.
there are other like variations like Witta, Witti,
Mhm.
um, Witta. Aidan McCoy had a book, and at the time it came out, I think she caught uh, negative reports around that because it was like an invention. Um, uh, Sometimes you do get like well, if this is a tradition and this is a tradition where, you're initiated into, um, and at some points people think you can't self-initiate, but we literally in the 101 book teach
Yes.
self-initiation.
Truth.
So, um, the, uh, if you are very traditionally minded, there may be the belief that you can't initiate yourself. But in our tradition, we actually have the initiation,
Yes.
self-initiation exercise. But yes, I would say that most people would, you know, agree and understand, like, what school you come through. The most similar, um, sort of, modern day, uh, like this would be like if you go to martial arts school, you would be like, I am a black belt under this instructor. I'm a black belt under Gracie. And then people will go, oh, the original Gracie. And they're like, well, no, not the original. He didn't teach me because he's, you know, um, not around anymore. He's retired. But it's his son. So you get these lineages which are connected to names and people, which I'd say is somewhat very similar to our tradition, because then sort of what house you belong to,
Mhm.
like a medieval guild, or um you know um you know and then you get an idea of the belief structures and symbolism. So I will say, as we are getting into some traditional stuff today, it's a tradition of Celtic Wicca. um uh, uh, Sometimes they'll say, like, with a capital C, which is to say this is our tradition. It is not the overarching belief of all Celtic traditions, which I put with the lower C, because there are more than one traditional Celtic belief systems, um, and you're going to see differences, and there'll be also a lot of similarities. So
Yes.
hopefully, with the broadness of our experiences, we can talk to um, the similarities across these a few different traditions, and kind of tell you how we did things. um, Growth within the mother coven. So a mother coven sort of being a larger umbrella, because as you grow within our tradition, first degree, second degree, third degree, you might start your own group because your group already has a high priest. So we wouldn't necessarily seek to replace our high priestess, but but you want to have that role. So maybe you start your own group. Also, if a group grows too large, it is practical to have smaller groups. Um, Spiritual growth in Wicca is marked by degrees achieved, and these are as follows. And this is, again, our tradition, similar to other traditions, but maybe not the same. The seeker, the student. So the student would be you at home, perhaps, watching, listening, taking notes, maybe, reading books. Um, Once a student, always a student. Um, Neophyte, number two. If number one is seeker, number two is neophyte. That's Neophyte. I always would get asked, how do you spell neophyte? So got into the habit. So that's a student being considered for initiation. All right. So if they've been a student, they've taken the class, maybe they've taken class several times, and they are seeking initiation. Um, Number three would be the first degree, the practitioner. So that would also be you and me as practitioners, um, even though we may advance in degrees later, right? Uh, Number four would be the second degree, and that would be the teacher, priest, or priestess. So that is both of us, because we are teaching you. And yes, there was always, like, in betweens where I would help teach a class, um, but not be considered, to be in charge of that class, because I was not a second degree at that time. Um, Fifth would be the third degree. The third degree is the leader, the high priest, or the high priestess. So sometimes these are degrees and initiations that you'll get within the group, and sometimes it's what you have to live up to.
Mhm.
So it's an aspiration, right? That we try to achieve and live up to uh, the high priestess that we had, certainly with Alexandria.
Mhm.
Um, Speaking of Alexandria, the master, this number six being the master. This would be the Magi or the Witch Queen. And Magi is spelled Magi, but you'll also see Magus, um, Magister, um, Witch Queen, and I've also heard, we don't have it mentioned in our tradition, but I've heard Witch King. Um, so, uh, so what is that? So that is somebody that uh, teaches the teachers, right? That's an easy way to put it. All right, so Foxmore is a mother coven. It's a mother coven can only be organized by a master of the religion. So that would be Lady Alexandria. But and don't get too hung up on that. The education that you get is always important, like not necessarily who they are or what degree they have, but what you get out of it, how you are able to spiritually grow. So don't get too hung up on degrees. Alexandria was always careful that people didn't get too hung up on their degree, and would see people get a second degree and their ego gets very large, their head gets big, as she would say, and it's problematic. So you have to understand that there's a service element to the degrees of the, initiation. So service oriented being like helping your community, you know. So,
And that also echoes the tenet of humility as well.
yes. And it's harder and harder to be humble when you're so great. When you have a lot of degrees on a really big hat.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
all the accoutrement, right?
yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to stay humble.
Mhm.
Yeah. Between each of the steps, 1 through 5, is a period no less than 1 year and 1 day. So a year and a day. Spend time being a student, spend time, you know. So this is symbolic. It's also practical. So it's good time. It's good to be able to digest the information that you're given. Elevation from level to level is based on merit, natural ability to fulfill responsibilities and finish assignments, and prerequisites. Having achieved these degrees does not automatically make the individual a member of the coven. That's an important note. Membership in the coven is always subject to first the elder's approval, and then the high priest's approval, and finally, with all other recommendations, the high priestess would make a final decision. This is the process by which all decisions are made within the coven. And when you say elders, what we mean are people that have been around for a while. So a loose term. At the point of third degree, the covenor is given the choice to stay within the coven or leave, taking no other members with them, and set out to begin another sister coven. If they choose to stay, they may begin a coven within the coven that will be subject to the rules therein. If they choose to leave, they are to break bonds with all who are members, never to speak with or of them again, taking with them only their personal tools and shadows. That's traditional craft. Read the old laws,
Mhm.
and then you'll understand this. It seems harsh, but it's actually very practical.
Mhm.
Um, in the times of the persecution and the burning times of the witches, um, no other group should know no other group. There should only be like one contact person.
Mhm.
Um, that way you're safe. That way you could be prosecuted, you know.
And if you were questioned, you genuinely couldn't give
No.
anything away because you didn't know.
Yes, and this is probably the time where magical names became
Mhm.
important. The wearing of masks became important, so you could maintain your anonymity. Um, there are some other practical reasons, um, but you know, we can talk about that in the future.
Yep.
The master study is available to a high priest or high priestess who chooses to stay within the mother coven, run their own class and sub or sister coven, and continue studying with a magi or witch queen of that coven. The master study is to cover a period of time no less than 9 years. To be chosen for the master study is a great honor, and it is the master who carries the traditions of our great religion through the generations. Don't get too hung up on the masters, the witch queen, or any of those details. Um, on a practical day to day level, it's just not that important. It is important to know that there are few individuals that sort of carry, you know, the knowledge and our traditions forward. And Alexandria said there were she only knew of six. And out of our coven, she said that there was only two that she saw that she would teach um, the master's tradition. And she said, it's up to you to figure out who those two people are. Wiccan customs.
Freaking customs. Oh, right on.
And the threefold law is so short. It is just a couple words on a page. That which you send out will come back to thee. Baneful or blessing, it returns times three. Remember this, and all you do, for what you send out comes back to you.
The threefold law.
It's very short. So the law of the Sphinx. Um, Occasionally I've had a student that didn't know what the Sphinx was. So you can Google it if you don't know. Um, Also, there is not just one Sphinx, but there are many throughout cultures, which kind of pop up here and there. If I always recommend looking at the Rider Waite, although other decks has the Wheel of Fortune, and on the Wheel of Fortune there's the Sphinx. So you'll whenever you see the symbolism of the Sphinx, and always kind of look for the connotation, because usually there's an important layer of hidden symbolism. The law of the Sphinx: to know, to dare, to will, to keep silent are the four words of the magus. In order to dare, you must know. In order to will, you must dare. You must will to possess the empire. To reign, you must be silent. And that's the law of the Sphinx. So I always give a little with the law of the Sphinx, because you may not, those words may not have impact or meaning. Um, so if you write them down, um, it's good to reread them as you look at the Sphinx. All right, so the Sphinx has different uh, different creatures that makes it up. So it's the lion, the man. People get those right away. It is subtle, but the bull is there, right? Um, Gosh, what is the fourth here? But they relate to the fixed zodiac signs. So Aquarius is the face of man, which would be like the water bearer of the zodiac. The lion is Leo, and that is the fixed fire.
Mhm.
Um, Taurus, fixed earth, uh, fixed water, Scorpio. So in there, usually with wings. Sometimes with just the understanding that I guess that these are the fixed signs of the zodiac. Um, so we have the elements as I was mentioning them. Uh,
The platonic elements,
yes,
and also which has some correspondence with alchemy, the
yes,
alchemical symbols.
yeah, yeah. So sim sim symbolism like a cornerstone of our religious tradition or
Mhm.
the elements. So uh dare, will, possession, um,
Mm.
silence. Um, but it was always said to me like you can figure out what the elements are in their order. Um, but it is in a sense, it is like a casting of a circle or um man in control of his universe,
Mhm.
which comes up, and it's man or woman in control of his universe. So we have the four elements, and we have spirit. Um, and when that pentacle is upright, it's like Da Vinci's man, right? We have the head and rulership. We have heart at the center. Um, Man in control of his universe, not the universe, but his universe. So this is a place of Zen-like reflection,
Mhm.
um, understanding. Um, anyway, so it's a good thought experiment, a good lesson in symbology and reflection. So it's like a point of meditation for me. Anything that you might want to add?
You covered it.
All right.
Covered it. Uh,
Oh, yeah. I always forget to say, don't forget to subscribe and to like.
that's right. Thanks.
Yeah, and on a good note, on a golden moment, on a shared positive of the week. Uh, um, I think our viewership doubled.
Yay.
Well,
Thanks, everybody.
7 to 14, you know.
Ooh.
I'm very slow to let people know. I don't know why. I think we're gathering up speed though, and I think with that our confidence grows, and as our confidence grows, and I'm like, there'll be a moment where I will slip it out there to more people, and that will expand. But
So if you're watching now, you're getting the soft opening
yes,
as
uh,
we sort of make a
yeah,
foray into this world, especially coming from a tradition where we we specifically didn't proselytize. We didn't go out and seek students.
no,
We didn't go out and seek
no,
publicity. So
no,
this is a new way of thinking for us as um, as
yes,
well,
yeah,
being public facing in any way, really.
yeah, yeah. Well, we have stores, and those stores are open to the public. And so you can walk into them and talk to us, you know.
Yeah.
So we sort of sort of had an open door policy in
Mhm.
that sense. Um, and
People,
I know that Lady Alexandria would sit on that front porch of
mhm,
the Crystal Fox
the
in the
original.
early
Yep.
days, that early first location,
Mhm.
which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and would talk to people, and they would come and they would, should talk. And you would get little tidbits, I think, every time you would talk to her because she had a wealth of experience and it was very diverse. Um, she was very well traveled in the US.
Mhm.
Uh, and she happened to have a lot of very different experiences. Um, so it was always great.
Mhm.
Always good to talk to her. You get a little bit each time of something that would change the way you think or appreciate the world. And sometimes it just sit with you um, for the rest of your life. You'd always think about that moment. You were like, whenever Alexandria said that.
Mhm.
And then you look at today, current events, and you're like, this is exactly what she saw. So it was, it's fascinating, fascinating. And just in also on the more secret side, there was also things she wished and spells she cast
Mhm.
and that manifested after she'd passed from this world.
Mhm.
I mean, to the letter. And you're just like, and they were so specific. I mean, just like stunning. Yeah. But always, she seemed to see that divinity in each person and knew that, we're all the same. She wasn't, she really liked people that didn't put her on a pedestal. She really liked people that, spoke to her on her same level. So she always liked that, non-presumptive conversation, and I think she kind of preferred it when people didn't know who she was,
Yes.
because then, you're having just an honest conversation with somebody, and she had a lot of people from different backgrounds.
She was able to connect.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, it's been a good week. A little cold, a little bit windy, but maybe warmer weather on the horizon.
We'll appreciate the next season even more after having a
Absolutely.
foot of snow and ice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stay warm in your travels and stay safe. Watch out for those slippery parking spots.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching. We
Thanks.
appreciate you.